Live with Dr. Mom. Hopefully this fan isn't too bad. It's a little warm in here. It might be annoying though. I might have to turn it off while I'm doing the video. Let's see. Oof. Okay, that's better. Okay. Live from my RV. I'm kind of messy today. I haven't had time to slow down. It's been awesome. We've been busy all day. Like, I feel like my days are just so busy. So I'm just going to try and get my videos out when I can get them out, and try to stay consistent with it anyway. So I apologize in advance. It's not going to be super professional. Kitty's got to be right in the way, of course. But we've been busy all day. Riding bike, playing pickleball, if anybody knows what that is. I didn't know what that was, but it's been super, super fun. Had a coffee date with my son and my daughter-in-law and the babies. Went to the park. It's been a full day. And just enjoying family, being blessed by family. And so, I'm not even going to apologize. I'm just going to say I'm going to get to these videos when I get to them. So enjoying life on the road. I'm going to try and do a video this weekend on RV living and fill you in on that part of it. Oh, I did make it to the gym too and lifted some weights because I'm having a hard time getting all that in, but I am back to my workouts, sort of back to my eating plan. It's been kind of rough, but that's my other series. So today we're talking about, it's a very interesting, I've always found this study interesting. 52 women of the Bible. We're studying about, and it's Jean Siswerda that put out this Bible study. And what I found studying it is that she's following the lineage of Christ and how that was, how God stayed within a certain lineage. And she's going right through. We're at the place of King David. And I feel like we kind of skipped over his younger life. Which was pretty important, but for some reason, it didn't have to do with women in particular, or a woman, didn't seem to, because it wasn't mentioned. So we're just going to keep on going. We're at number 22 with his Bathsheba, and it's one of a story that I always remembered pretty well. So her name means the seventh daughter. Oh, I was gonna look it up too on my other computer, but not everything works really well in here. That's RV living, which I'm going to talk about later. It's a little bit slower, the internet, because I'm a little bit away from the house, but I don't know. Let's see if we can get quotes about Bathsheba and King David. I like kind of looking this part. No, let's see. Sorry. I should have done this already, but I'm just trying to get it done. So, oh, geez. Doesn't seem to be working again. I've had problems with getting the internet out here. That's RV living, you know what I'm saying? It's kind of crazy. Kind of crazy and pretty fun at the same time. No, I'm not for some reason on the internet, so we're going to connect again, see what I can get. Sorry. Now this is a day in the life of Dr. Mom RV living. Craziness. You can see my hair is pretty wild today because we've been going all day. Okay, it's connected, so I'm going to go ahead and get in here and see if I can find some quotes because I haven't done that very well. Oh, I don't know. It takes a long time to connect. Which is internet living, um, RV living, sorry, not internet living. Okay, while that loads, I'm going to push Kitty off the table because she is on it again. And I have hair all over everything. Okay, images on Bathsheba. So images from quotes. Well, we got something here. So, okay. Who is Bathsheba? So her name means the seventh daughter or the daughter of an oath. Not sure what that means exactly. Her beauty made her a victim of a king's desire, which would be difficult in those times, right? So, though it is difficult to discern her true character, she seems to have found the courage to endure tragedy, winning the king's confidence and eventually securing the kingdom for her son Solomon. So Solomon is where it comes in with the lineage of Christ. 2 Samuel 11:1 through 12 and 25. And I did pull that up because I felt that this study sort of skipped out on a few things. Looks like my connection's kind of unstable, so I'm just going to keep doing it for now. Okay, let's see. Looks like I am getting some quotes. So, okay. One evening, David got up. This is King David, remember. Got up from his bed and walked around the roof of the palace. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful. I'm having to keep her from clawing everything. She's trying to get my attention one way or another. She's going to be hitting me soon, I'm sure. Oh, Kitty. Okay. From the roof, he saw a woman bathing. The woman was very beautiful. Then David sent messengers to get her. She came to him, and he slept with her. The woman conceived and sent word to David, saying, I am pregnant. In the morning, David wrote, and she was married, by the way, at the time, and is going to explain it in a little while. And she was married to one of David's, I think he called him the 30 of his soldiers. They were special soldiers and pretty close to him, to his men. So took care of his men. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab, but Uriah, Bathsheba's husband. Oh, okay. So put Uriah was Bathsheba's husband, in the front line where the fighting is fiercest. Then withdraw from him so he will be struck down and die. So they kind of skipped quite a bit of this part of it. And I am going to read out of the Bible sort of where they skipped that part because there's a lot more to it. In the morning, David wrote a letter to Joab. Okay, sorry. When Uriah's wife heard that her husband was dead, she mourned for him. After the time of mourning was over, David had her brought to his house, and she became his wife and bore him a son. But the thing David had done displeased the Lord, because he did send one of his soldiers to the front line basically to get killed so that he could have his wife. That's not a good thing to do, is it? Oh, okay, I've got everything. My computer keeps shutting off and I have to restart it, and boy, it's been crazy. Okay, Bathsheba's I was reading to see if that was a good quote. I think we're going to look at a different one. Okay. Bathsheba's life and times, ritual bathing. So this is going to tell us about what the ritual bathing was about back in those days. A warm tub of water with a fragrance of flowers, soaking, eyes closed, That's the image conjured up in most of our minds when it comes to bathing. But in Bathsheba's day, most bathing took place not for the purpose of physical cleanliness, because back then they really had to probably draw a lot of water and haul it. You didn't have water right at your disposal, right? People of that time had little knowledge of the spread of disease and germs through uncleanliness, but bathing took place to become ritually clean after a period of being unclean. So Bathsheba had just completed her monthly period. The flow of blood was finished. The 7 days prescribed in Leviticus 15:19 were passed, and she now needed to cleanse herself. She probably stood in or near a basin of water, using a sponge or cloth to clean herself. Then either squeezing water over herself as a rinse or pouring water from a pitcher over her body. Scripture mentions cleansing with water hundreds of times, most of them referring to ritual rather than physical cleaning. Cleansing took place after many kinds of skin disease were healed. Leviticus 14:8, and after men and women had unusual discharges. Men and women both had to wash themselves after sexual intercourse to be ceremonially clean. Priests cleansed themselves before offering sacrifices. The sacrifices themselves were washed before being offered to God. Physical cleansing more often took the form of washing one's hands before eating or washing one's feet when entering a house. My dog is panting, so I apologize if it's really loud. We need the fan going. Let's see. Dirty, dusty roads and open sandals made foot washing something that needed to be done frequently. Since foot washing was commonly the job of the lowest member or servant of the household, Jesus modeled a splendid humility when he bathed his disciples' feet in the upper room, John 13:5. The Bible sometimes describes the righteousness as those with clean hands. Cleanliness is also used in Scripture as a metaphor for being forgiven. I am clean and free from guilt. Cleanse me with hyssop, and I will be clean. Wash me, and I will be whiter than snow. In the end times, the bride of Christ will be dressed in fine linen, bright and clean. That's Revelations 19:8. So our life of end times, we live in a culture that glorifies outward cleanliness with our soaps and lotions and toothpaste and disinfectants, our bathing and brushing or washing and wiping. But how concerned are we with inner cleanliness? Do we have clean hands but spirits filthy with hate? Do we have soft, clean-shaven legs but hearts hardened to the hearts of others? Do we have clean, blemish-free faces that seldom smile? Outward cleanliness is admirable, but only if an inward cleanliness accompanies it. It's funny because my kids and I were just talking about that. On Sunday, we went to church, and we got on some subject. Kitty, wow, about really honestly just how sinful people we are. I mean, because when we talk bad about others and not keep our mind clean, and that's kind of what he's talking about here, how important that is. I was reading through some of the questions that she asked, and I thought this was kind of something that was interesting, and I was hoping to maybe find something on it as well, because I wondered more about Bathsheba. Let's see if we can find more on her. I wondered more about the story of Bathsheba, only because right here, what they're asking is describe how you think Bathsheba probably felt when she realized she was pregnant with David's child. Why did she immediately tell David? So when I was reading through it, I was kind of wondering that myself. So when David summons her, and they obviously had sex, was that something of her choice? It was, or I mean, because if a king wanted something like that, I would assume that you better do it, right? Um, so what do you think she was thinking about? And it looked like she did mourn for her husband. Um, so let's see. I'm just gonna read a little bit more about what happened. And it's 2 Samuel 11. In the spring of the year, the time when kings go out to battle, David sent Joab and his servant with him and all Israel, and they ravaged the Ammonites and besieged Rahab, but David remained at Jerusalem. So it happened late one afternoon when David arose from the couch, was walking on the roof of the king's house, and he saw from the roof a woman bathing, and the woman was very beautiful. And David sent and inquired about the woman, and one said, is not, let's see, sorry, is not this Bathsheba, the daughter of Elam, the wife of Uriah the Hittite? So he did know that. So David sent messengers and took her. So I don't know that she had a choice. And she came to him and he lay with her. Now she had been purifying herself from uncleanliness. Then she returned to her house, and the woman conceived and she sent and told David, I am pregnant. So also thinking about it, her husband was out to war. So he wasn't there. So she became pregnant when he wasn't there. So I'm guessing that's why she probably sent word to David saying, yikes, this is, but I kind of feel bad for Bathsheba because did she have a choice in it? I don't know. So David sent word to Joab, send me Uriah the Hittite, Uriah her husband, and Joab sent Uriah to David. When Uriah came to him, David asked how Joab was doing, and how the people were doing, and how the war was going. So then, he was inquiring so that he wouldn't catch on. Then David said to Uriah, go down to your house and wash your feet. He was wanting him to go down to his own home where his wife was and basically have sex with her so it would look like Uriah got her pregnant, not David. That's reading between the lines. But Uriah, because he was true to his men and to the king, and they were in the middle of battle, they weren't allowed to have sex with their wives. They always stayed in the battlefield. So when he told him to go down to his own house, he ended up staying there and slept at the door of the king's house with all the servants of his lord and did not go down to his house. So when they told David this, he tried one more time to get Uriah to go to have sex. He had him in, fed him, got him drunk, and was hoping that would work, and it did not work. So after this, that's when David sent him out to the front lines, basically to be killed, and that worked. And so that's when that's when Bathsheba mourned for him when that happened. And then after Uriah died, then King David took her as his wife. And I don't know if we're gonna know about this later. And God was not happy with him after he had done all of this. But later on, because of what he did, sorry, I'm trying to bring this up right quick. Because of what King David did, he was, well, I mean, we think, let's see, I'm going to read it. David said to Nathan, I have sinned against the Lord. And Nathan said to David, the Lord also has put away your sin. You shall not die. Nevertheless, because by this deed you have utterly scorned the Lord, the child who is born, Bathsheba's child that she had with David, will die. Then Nathan went to his house. So David's child dies. And the Lord afflicted the child that Uriah's wife Bathsheba bore to David, and he became sick. David therefore sought God on behalf of the child, and David fasted and went in and lay all night on the ground. I mean, which is right. I mean, so it shows us that he loved his child, but what he did was wrong. And went in and lay all night on the ground. And the elders of the house stood beside him to raise him from the ground, but he would not, nor did he eat food with them. On the seventh day the child died, and the servants of David were afraid to tell him that the child was dead. For they said, behold, while the child was yet alive, we spoke to him, and he did not listen to us. How then can we say to him, the child is dead? He may do himself some harm. But when David saw that his servants were whispering together, David understood that the child was dead. And David said to his servants, is the child dead? Then he said, he is dead. Then David arose from the earth and washed and anointed himself and changed his clothes, and he went into the house of the Lord and worshiped. And it's after that Solomon was born. Then David comforted his wife Bathsheba and went into her and lay with her, and she bore a son, and he called his name Solomon. So even after he had done all this and the first son died, he did have a second son, Solomon, by Bathsheba. Okay, I have Bathsheba pulled up here a little bit. Let me see if I can find a few things on her that might be kind of fun to read. Bathsheba, the wife of David, reigned in 1005, 965 BCE, and the mother of Solomon is featured in each of these roles in one major narrative sequence in the David stories, and she is characterized quite differently in each. The account in 2 Samuel, which we are reading right now, 11 through 12, of how Bathsheba came in to be David's wife makes clear circumstances are morally problematic. Yet, because her character is suppressed, she emerges untainted by the adultery and the murder for which David receives full blame. Bathsheba's daughter of Eliam and wife of Uriah the Hittite becomes the object of David's lustful gaze. The story implies that David should have been at the battlefield leading his troops, but instead he is at home in Jerusalem. From his rooftop, he sees a woman bathing. David has her brought to his royal residence and lies with her. He had already known that she was married, so he still did it. But from his roof, okay, David has her brought. Okay, afterwards she returns to her home. The adultery results in a pregnancy. This sets in motion David's plan to pass the child off as Uriah's, and when this fails, to legitimize the child as his own by ensuring that Uriah will be killed in battle so that David can marry the widow Bathsheba. Okay, so Bathsheba seems to know nothing of David's plan, and indeed it unfolds outside her purview. Bathsheba is on stage in the story very infrequently and is silent except for the announcement of her pregnancy, which she does not deliver in person. No hint is given of her inner life or of her complacency with or resistance to David's actions. So we're just not going to know that. We're not going to know any of that. We see her next after her husband Uriah has died, and she reacts as a proper wife should. 2 Samuel 11:26 emphasizes her status as Uriah's wife. When the wife of Uriah heard that her husband was dead, she made lamentations for him. Immediately after the mourning period, David marries her, and she bears him a son. The child born to David and Bathsheba becomes ill and soon dies. David is portrayed as a distraught father and praying and fasting that the child might live. Of the mother, we hear nothing again, except that after the child has died, then David consoled his wife Bathsheba and went to her and lay with her, and she bore a son, and he or she named him Solomon. One should not conclude that Bathsheba was a callous woman, but rather than that, the narrator has intentionally shaped the portrayal of her character for a purpose. Bathsheba's role is intentionally minimized to focus the story on David. David bears the responsibility and the condemnation, and from this point on, he is beset by problems within his family that have political implications for his reign. This David is quite different from the man depicted in the Abigail story. Remember, Abigail was his first wife, and his first wife, and although he loved her, he didn't touch her. But when her husband did die, then he did take her as a wife. But he didn't do like he did this time. If Bathsheba is portrayed as passive in her early relationship with David, she becomes strongly active toward the end of David's life in her successful attempt to ensure that her son Solomon will inherit the throne. 1 Kings 1 shows her plotting along with the prophet Nathan and other supporters of Solomon to convince David that he has promised the kingship to Solomon. David is by now a pathetic figure who has lost control over his sons long ago. The first three of David's sons have already died, and the succession will be decided between the fourth son, Adonijah, and the destined heir Solomon. So that must have been Abigail's son with him. The operative familial relationship is the mother-son relationship and is emphasized in the way the narrator refers to the characters. Bathsheba succeeds in having her son designated as David's successor, but her importance in the narrative does not stop when he has become king, as we see in 1 Kings 2. When David dies, the unsuccessful Adonijah, who has been assured by Solomon that no harm will come to him if he proves worthy, asks Bathsheba to convey a request to Solomon, for she is considered influential. Adonijah requests that one of David's concubines, Bathsheba, be given to Adonijah as his wife. It sounds innocent enough, a small consolation prize from the king to his brother who has lost the throne. Bathsheba conveys the request with a small change in the wording to Solomon, whereupon Solomon reacts violently, interpreting the request as an attack on his possession as king. The request costs Adonijah his life. So why did Bathsheba agree to convey this request? There are several possible explanations. Perhaps Bathsheba understood the impropriety of the request. It had been interpreted as tantamount to claiming the throne and knew how Solomon would react. So I don't know. Maybe that's not so nice, right? Okay, let's see. She might have been happy to see Adonijah killed so that he could not remain a right son. Or perhaps Bathsheba would have been only too happy to have Abishag removed from Solomon's household and transferred to Adonijah. Adonijah had been in David's bed when Bathsheba came to convince the feebly old king to designate Solomon on his successor. And although David did not have sexual relations with Abishag, she was in a sense a younger rival to Bathsheba herself for David's favors and perhaps for future influence over Solomon. Whatever the explanation, Bathsheba played an important role in the succession of Solomon to the throne. So that's interesting, right? Wow. That's very interesting. Well, this is kind of a good quote, I guess, today. Watch your thoughts, they become your words. Watch your words, they become your actions. Watch your actions, they become your habits. Watch your habits, they become your destiny. That's pretty good. Let's see. Interesting. I think there's a lesson shattered. All you can do is breathe. Um, I don't know. I guess you could say that about King David, but I think he knew that he was doing wrong before he did it, even. We are on June 15th, you guys. I'm not making an hour. If I can get a half an hour in, I'm going to, and it may not be at the same time every day. So I'm just going to try and get on here. This is our verse for today. When you approach me in stillness and trust, you are strengthened. You need a buffer zone of silence around you in order to focus on things that are unseen. Since I am invisible, you must not let your senses dominate your thinking. The curse of this age is overstimulation of the senses, which blocks out awareness of the unseen world. The tangible world still reflects my glory to those who have eyes that see and eats that hear. Yep. Ears that hear. Spending time alone with me is the best way to develop seeing eyes and hearing ears. The goal is to be aware of unseen things even as you live out your life in the visible world. 2 Corinthians 4:18, Isaiah 6:3, and Psalms 135. So, my friends, it's very nice to be back with you. I was just reading another quote, but I don't think it's worth putting on here. So, kitty in the background. It's kind of warm in here, so I'm going to start the fan back up. And my prayers go out to you, and nice touching base again. And I'm going to get organized. That's what I'm trying to do, is get organized. So life on the road is very different indeed. So my love goes out to you. I hope you're enjoying your summer. We're waiting for a baby here any day now, any day. We're not sure, but it's super exciting. I'm super blessed right now. Super blessed. Been able to spend lots of time with my family, my kids, and it's grandkids, and it's so awesome. So blessed. So, all right. Love you much. Bye.